Welcome to A New Earth, Awakening to Your Life's Purpose, a worldwide web event. So they've lost sight of the function that they had as mother, to be guide and to direct and to correct and to help and to protect.
And
right.
Yes.
And they want to carry that into the future.
Yes.
Because they are attached to the role.
Yes.
Okay.
And it's not only when children grow up, even when the children are still small.
Right.
If you are completely identified with this role of mother, then also it can become obsessive. So you might become too controlling or overprotective. Certain functions become overemphasized. You go too far in fulfilling these functions. So what was good initially is looking after the child, protecting the child, can become too much.
Okay. I got it.
Yeah.
I got it. Tonight, actress Jenny McCarthy is joining us.
Ah.
Yeah, via Skype. Hey, Jenny.
Hi.
How are you? Do you know that when I was reading this book, Jenny, when I was reading my book, here it is, my book's all kind of torn up now, but when I was reading this book on page 104, I wrote, when I read, as you look at, listen to, touch, or help your child with this or that, you are alert, still completely present, not wanting anything other than that moment as it is. And this way you make room for being. In that moment, you're present. You're not a father or mother. You're the alertness, the stillness. You are the being behind the doing. I wrote Jenny McCarthy because that reminded me so much of what you had said about your function as a mother.
Yes, absolutely. You know, I read this book when it first came out, and that was one of my big wake-up calls. Realizing that when I was with Evan, all I needed to do was just be with Evan. And our relationship bloomed. Like you wouldn't believe, the love connection was there. He was getting fulfilled because he knew, even when Evan wasn't able to speak, this was when Evan still wasn't able to use words, energetically he felt that I was with him, that I was being with him. And I'm so grateful, Eckhart, that you taught me that.
So did you have a question, or do you?
I do have a question. Okay, it's long, so bear with me. It's not that long, but bear with me. One very common emotion that I have personally experienced and that I have seen in many mothers is this emotion called guilt. Mothers today experience a few different forms of guilt, and I'm going to explain 3 different versions where I'm sure moms listening right now, one of them will say, that's my guilt.
Yeah.
The first one is the 9-to-5 working mom feels guilty for leaving her baby with the nanny all day. The second one is the stay-at-home mom feels guilty for getting bored playing with her, her son or daughter all day long. I mean, sometimes you can only play choo-choo so long and you can't do it anymore, and you feel guilty for not wanting to do that. And the third, the last one being, and this one I can really connect to, the thousands of mothers I've met who have children with autism carry a huge amount of guilt with them. It's hard for me to get out, sorry.
Take your time.
Yes.
I haven't cried yet in one interview, so I'm sorry. But a huge amount of guilt that it's in some way their fault, our fault, that our child became autistic. So my question is, can you offer some insight as to how we can look at things differently from a different perspective and how to alleviate this guilt that we carry as mothers?
9-to-5 guilt, choo-choo guilt, and feeling guilty because your child has autism or whatever your child has, and that you are somehow responsible. Thanks, Jenny. That was so well said.
Thank you.
Before I say anything, I read your book when it was still in manuscript form. You gave it to me, and I was very impressed by what you did with your child, the courage that you had, where other people would have succumbed and fallen into negativity or self-pity. You were able to turn it all around and make it into something very positive, at the same time helping many other people, not helping your child, but helping many other people. Now,
Thank you, Eckhart.
You still feel guilty, of course, that's the structure. Even after all this wonderful work that you have done with your son, it's amazing, isn't it, that there are certain structures in the human mind that operate no matter how much good you do, the structures carry on playing themselves out, and they are part of the, what I call, not the content of the ego, but the structure of the ego. So nobody could have done a better job than you with your boy. In addition, helping many others writing that book. And yet, you feel guilty. It's not that you feel guilty. There's a certain structure in their thought processes that produces the feeling of guilt. And the other two examples that you gave, there's the mother that has a job, 9 to 5, the child is with a nanny, and the mother feels guilty about that, cannot accept that this is how it is, and the other mother is at home playing with the child.
Choo-choo.
Feels guilty about not doing more in the world. And so whatever it is, if you don't recognize the structure in your mind for what it is, then you will always believe that the answer to solving this question lies in the realm of content. In other words, content is the situation. So if I change the situation, perhaps I won't feel guilty anymore. Then this would be, if you think that this so-called problem, it's not a real problem, it's a mind-created problem. If you believe that this problem can be solved on an external level by changing something that you do, it will not, because no matter what situation you go into, the guilt will come back. Because in this world you are limited, you can't do everything. You either do this or you do that, but you cannot be both at home and at work at the same time. So the mind, no matter what situation you go into, will bring up the same structures. So unless you're very alert and you recognize that these are egoic mind structures, nothing to do with content, then you realize that one of the jobs of the ego is to blame others. Another job of the ego is to make yourself feel guilty. Both of these things strengthen your sense of identity. They are negative senses of identity. And the ego loves to have a strong sense of identity, and no sense of identity is stronger than a negative one, where you condemn yourself for something. And you can see, from an objectively speaking, it doesn't make sense to feel guilty in your case and in many other people's cases.
Yes, because if you have to work 9 to 5 to provide for your child, and make a safe home for your child, and food on the table for your child,
you're doing the best you can.
You're doing the best you can.
And your mind works according to its old conditioning. So recognize, when those thoughts come, recognize that these are not actual valid thoughts that are actually concern a true situation. They are thoughts generated by the ego. And if you can recognize them as thoughts generated by the ego, structural, not content-based, then in the moment of recognition, they begin to lose their power over you. And they will try to come in. It's not, you can't do it just for once. They will try to come in the next day.
Because you, Jenny, wrote that book. Obviously, I read the book, too, because you were here and shared the book, with our audience. You, refused to take no for an answer. You fought for Evan. You did the best you knew how to do. And when you didn't know, you sought other answers to figure out the best to do. So there is a part of you, the part of you that is really you, right, Eckhart?
Yes.
That knows that.
Yes.
True? True, Jenny?
True, absolutely.
Yeah. And that little crazy talk in your head is just that. Crazy talk in your head.
That's a good expression.
Yeah, that crazy talk in your head.
Yeah.
It really, I just had a huge awakening moment when he said that within me. So I get it. Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's a wow.
That's a wow. Thanks, Jenny.
That's a wow. Thank you both so much.
Say hello to my palsy wowsy, Jim.
I will. He sends his love.
Yeah, he sent me flowers after he was on for Horton Hears a Who and said...
I know. I made him.
Oh, you made him. Okay. His note said from your palsy wowsy. Okay, thanks. Thanks a lot.